Today I'm going to talk about a topic that I have touched on before, but I want to take a little bit of a different angle so that I can maybe hit you different and you can pull some different parts from it for yourself. And what I want to talk about is your environment and your surroundings, okay? Now, the reason I want to talk about this is because I hear a lot of the times, and we all go through phases on our health journey, but I hear a lot of the times a lot of ladies get in this stuck mode. They're not discouraged or super unmotivated, but they don't have that momentum like they used to have. They're somewhere in the middle, still enjoying themselves, still seeing results, but they know that they can do better, and they're trying to do better, but for some reason it's not working, or there's this connection off. And that's why I want to talk about this. So to start, I want to start by saying a healthy environment is not just a safe environment. A healthy environment is a stimulating environment. So a healthy environment is not just safe, but stimulating. Okay, and that's an important distinction. So, you have to ask yourself, what is my environment like right now? What was my environment like today? Around me right now, what are the vibes? Right? Is my environment encouraging me to be bored, lazy, comfortable, uninspired, unengaged? Right? Is that my household right now? Or is my household stimulating me? Is my environment stimulating me and making it easier for me to learn new skills, practice new skills, want to learn a new skill? Are the people in my house also stimulated? Are they trying to learn new skills? Or are they bored, uninspired, lazy, unengaged? Right? So big distinction right there. What is happening in your home? That is your bubble. What is it giving you? What are the feelings it's giving you? It's not giving you any feelings, you're in the middle. That's just as dangerous as on the negative side, right? So is your household set up so it's perpetuating being lazy? It's easy to be bored. It's easy, to sit on the couch at night, right? Is there a dark corner in your basement for your workouts? And then upstairs, you have these beautiful, comfy couches with beautiful dimmed lighting and an awesome flat screen. Which one's more appealing, right? So how is your house set up? And how is that affecting how the other people in the house engage with you and things like that as well, right? Is there purpose in your house? Is there cohesion in your house? Is there organization in your household? With everybody, between everybody and everything. It's all linked together. It's absolutely crazy. You need to be very picky with how you live. You need to be very picky with how the people around you live. That's non-negotiable. That is a must, okay? You need to be looking at your household, the environments you spend the most time in, whether that's your house itself, your office, your in-laws, these environments you are surrounded by frequently. They are your garden. It is your garden. And for a plant to grow and thrive, it needs the perfect growing conditions, right? You need the perfect growing conditions. Otherwise, you will wither away, right? For a plant to grow, it needs healthy soil with minerals, with vitamins, with some healthy bacteria, right? You need to be planted in the right temperature. You need to get the perfect combination of sunlight and water. It's a mathematical, scientific equation to grow a plant exponentially and have it flourish, right? And that is where you're trying to get to. You are trying to thrive and flourish and be in an environment that promotes maximal growth for you. Maximal growth, right? And ask yourself, do you feel like you're stuck, uninspired, bored, banging your head against the wall, something's not clicking here? If you feel those things, You are not tending to your garden. You are not tending to your garden. You are ignoring one of the biggest determinants of your success, and that is your environment, your household, your garden. You haven't been tending to the garden. You've just been looking at the plant. You're not looking at the whole garden. If there's weeds in the garden, it doesn't matter how much you water the plant, it's going to choke, right? If you're making sure the plant's right by sunlight, but the soil's dry and out of nutrients, it's going to starve anyway. So it doesn't need the sunlight. Same thing happening, ladies. You are overlooking one of the most important factors of whether or not you are going to be successful, whether or not you're going to want to quit every other day, whether or not people are going to be holding you back, and whether or not you can sustain this long term, right? Because you cannot thrive in a mediocre environment or a shit environment. It is all the same. It is all the same. Let me tell you, if you aren't actively working on your garden, you are missing out. You are royally screwing yourself. And I do not say that lightly. Listen to that again. If you are not actively tending to your garden, shaping it for your optimal growing conditions, you are dying. It is only a matter of time till shit hits the fan. Some of you know what I'm talking about. Some of you don't. Shit will hit the fan if you are not actively putting your attention onto your household or where you spend the most amount of your time. Now that looks different. Actively putting your attention can look different. Attention is attention. You can decide what level that is. But if you are just passively letting the environment continue as it was, or with minimal change from before when you started your journey, you are in trouble. Because you have an entire ecosystem happening right now, right? Your house and the people in it and what goes on and the habits and how everything's set up. It's like this full-blown ecosystem, right? And it doesn't take much to disrupt an ecosystem, right? That's, you do one change in it and there's lots of big consequences. So you have this ecosystem that you have built, good and bad things involved in this. But one of the unfortunate things, ladies, is you've built your ecosystem, your house, the rules, the cleanliness, the cupboards, the relationships, the communication. You've built an ecosystem that has optimized your bad habits. You have built an ecosystem that optimizes your bad habits. Did you hear that? That is serious. For decades or for however long you've been in the house or living with the people you live with or spending time with the people you spend time with, you've optimized your bad habits. Not because you intended to. Not because you intended to, but because you weren't actively trying to work against that. So now your entire household is optimized for you to very easily act out a bad habit and for it to be very difficult for you to work yourself up to do the healthy habit frequently and continuously. And it's not, and the majority of our problems are not getting ourselves to do the good habit. It's getting ourselves to keep doing the good habit. Doesn't matter if you do it once a week. Doesn't matter if you do it twice a week. If you can't continuously do it a year from now, there's no point. You will feel like you're wasting your time, right? So your garden needs to be tended to actively, intentionally. Your focus needs to shift to your environment. Because here's the thing that you need to know. We are very, very big on personal growth, ladies. We all know that, right? But personal growth isn't enough. Personal growth, you changing as a person, will not protect you from an unoptimized environment or from an environment optimized for bad habits. It doesn't matter how much you change, how much your thinking has changed, your perspective, how many good habits you've practiced, how many reps you've put in of that good practice. That is not strong enough to outshine or overpower a poor environment that you have not meticulously handcrafted for your success. Listen to that again. Focusing on just your personal growth is not enough to be successful long term. If you want sustained results, so you get them, not only get them at the speed you want, and then actually keep them there, attained them and sustained them, it will come down to your environment. Because personal growth is a never-ending journey, right? And it's addicting. Once you start it, you really enjoy the journey of making yourself proud, learning your flaws and overcoming them. That is an ongoing journey forever. You're never going to stop that once you start. And everybody can say amen to that, because I know that. It's addicting, feeling good and being uncomfortable and then growing and becoming better. But the thing that will slow you down and slingshot you back to the start is whether or not you've been giving any attention into your environment, because you are a product of your environment, and your environment got you to where you are in the first place. So if you change and your environment does not, you will go back to the thing that has not changed, right? And vice versa. If your environment's changed to promote healthier behavior, but you haven't accepted the personal growth side of things and done the mental work, the environment will drop. The environment will go back to normal. It's vice versa here. So you need to ask yourself, what is lacking? And if you're a fit queen, it's not personal growth. It's you're overlooking how impactful, intentionally building, because you are building your environment for the new you. That future you, you think of her. How does she go about her day? How does she process thoughts? What habits come easy to her? And what environment does she live in? What does her house look like? How do people interact with her? All of these things come down to what's around you, because what's around you is going to help or hurt you. And there's only so long for you to be able to ignore that. You can only ignore not tackling your environment or passively tackling your environment for so long. And usually what will happen, and this is how you know if this applies to you, you will get to a point where you've seen awesome results, but you still are addicted and know your potential. So you want to keep going. But something's stopping you. Something is stopping you. You don't know what it is because you keep trying. You keep implementing new strategies, new routines, new habits. You have all these ideas, but for some reason it's not sticking. Right? So that is a signal to you that it doesn't matter how much attention you put on yourself right now. You're incapable of it because something around you is pulling you back. And that's where we have to realize the impact that our environment has on us. Okay? So if you are bored, if you are uninspired, or even if you're in the middle and you're like, I'm doing good, I'm happy, but of course I'd love to see more. You're in that middle ground. The answer for you right now is most likely shift your attention to starting to mold the environment that you think the future you would thrive in. Because future you, think about this, ladies. Future you would not thrive in your current environment, correct? Future you wouldn't have your current environment, your household, or your communication styles, or that thing in the cupboard, right? So that's where your mind needs to be. And so what I want to ask you, ladies, is looking back to before you started your journey. So think, however far back that was. how drastically has your household changed? Everything in your household. What the fridge looks like, what the cupboard looks like, you know, how clean the bathrooms are, how you communicate with everybody, everybody's teamwork, if there's lots of people in the house. How drastically has your environment really changed from before you started to now? Write it in the comments. Let me know. A little bit, a lot, in the middle, complete 180. Where are you? Complete 180. That's the goal. If you cannot say your household has drastically changed, you are leaving results on the table. And One Fit Queen just said, not nearly enough. Excellent. Recognize that. That is your downfall. You can't skip that part. You will not make it out alive if you don't shift your attention there. We try to skip that part. We try to bypass that part. We try to tell ourselves that that part's not important. I'm just going to start doing better things. I'm just going to start having better habits. That is impossible to do if you haven't optimized your environment, because your entire environment that you've built, your entire life that you've built, your entire life you've built was not centered around health, right? The entire life you've built up to just recently was never centered around health. So you need to be focusing on rebuilding your entire life. That sounds nuts, doesn't it? You need to be centered or focused on rebuilding your entire life so health is the very core and everything else fits into that, not fitting health into what you have right now. That's crazy. Doesn't that sound like impossible? Doesn't that sound like, no thanks, no, that's too much for me, right? That is how this sticks. You cannot be successful a year from now if a year from now your environment and the people in it have not changed. Period. No if, ends, or but. Do not think you are an exception to this rule. I'm not. I literally was in a snacking mood today. If there was freaking anything in the house, any junk, I would have gone for it. I was weak today. And guess what I did instead? I ate eggs. Because that's all I had. Because I said, when I move into my own house, I am creating my own rules. Health is at the center. Everything else follows. Now, of course, that is a process. You can breathe, you can exhale. It does not happen overnight because you didn't create the life you have now overnight, right? So I'm not telling you that you have to go piss off your husband and tell him no more ice cream, right? That's not going to work. That's too immediately drastic. But what everybody on this call needs to realize is if you are not actively choosing to change your environment, you are actively choosing to go on this journey much more slowly, much more painfully, and with much more significant failures. Bigger, unnecessary failures, unnecessary setbacks. When if you just get really uncomfortable right now for the next little while, you won't have to deal with that. And I think that this gets overlooked a lot because, I mean, number one, nobody really talks about this, right? No one ever talks about this because most people never get to this point. Most people never lose the weight and get stuck and get past the stuck. Most people lose a little bit of weight, get stuck, and then give up, right? But to make it past the stuck is telling you something. The stuck is telling you something. You are not doing something that you should be doing that is simple, that you've been resisting. Maybe because you don't think you can do it, maybe because you don't think it's that important, or maybe you didn't even know it was that simple. But I'm telling you, If you need to get unstuck now or unstuck in the future, it's almost always your environment, because personal growth takes time. Personal growth is uncomfortable, and that comes with its own set of failures, right? But we don't need to be adding to the failures by staying in an environment or not working on an environment that isn't producing like things that stimulate you, right? If you're comfortable, right? Who thinks they're comfortable? Who's comfortable? That's when you start to slack off. That's when you start to give yourself permission. That's when you give in to those excuses, or you believe in your excuses a little bit more. If you're comfortable, guess why you're comfortable? Because your environment has made you comfortable. You're not working on it. Take a break from working on yourself and work on your environment. If you do that, indirectly, you're actually still working on yourself because it's uncomfortable. Most people, like I was saying before, they try to skip this part, intentionally or unintentionally. And the reason for that is because, in my opinion, reshaping your environment is much more frequently uncomfortable than personal growth or working on good habits, right? They're both equally uncomfortable, but I think tackling your environment and trying to change that, change years of how you've done things, change years of how you communicate, change years of habits that other people do around you, that is much more frequently uncomfortable. So you're going to experience discomfort much more frequently, which is really rough and not exciting and not enjoyable short term, right? It's not. You're going to upset some people. You're going to annoy some people. You're going to feel like you're missing out, or there's like losses in your life that you have to mourn, whether that's, foods, whether that's relationships, whether that's, anything that you personally are attached to in your house, things like that. It's uncomfortable very frequently. So if you are uncomfortable, you are in the right direction. If you feel comfortable right now, that is a red flag. Red flag. You cannot pull yourself out of that because your environment sunk you back into that place. It was too easy to push off a workout, too easy to sit on the couch with a snack, too easy to skip a coaching call because your environment didn't stimulate you, didn't inspire you, didn't engage you to do those things. It is set up so it promotes you to be lazy. It promotes you to be comfortable. It's promoting these things. Whether or not you can identify what exactly is promoting them, that's up to you. You have to really think about it. Some of them are obvious, some of them are not obvious, right? But there's something in your house or the people you live with right now that are making it okay for you to not try harder. And that's some real shit. And now it's up to you to face it. That's the hardest part. Look at it. Face it. Accept it. Say it out loud. Say the X needs to change. Y needs to change. Say it out loud, ladies. There's something, if you are not progressing at the pace that you want, guaranteed there's something in your environment that is holding you back, period. So look it in the face, and it needs to change, and you cannot get around it. Now you can take your time changing it, especially if it involves other people, of course, because they didn't sign up for the change, right? But it will need to happen. You cannot be successful without whatever you're thinking getting control of that. So if it involves other people, you need to have a lot of uncomfortable conversations, respectful conversations, but uncomfortable. You cannot avoid it. If you don't like conflict, if you don't want to make people mad, then go run an ice cream shop. because that's the only way you're going to make people happy 100% of the time. Right? You can't do it. So have uncomfortable conversations with yourself and others and set boundaries. When is the last time you set a boundary? I shouldn't say set. I want to say reset a boundary. Setting boundaries is sometimes easy. You can say it and people will be like, yeah, absolutely okay. Sure, I'll support you. But then they start to not do it when it's inconvenient for them, or they forget because it's not normal. So seriously, ladies, I'm asking you a question. When's the last time you reset a boundary with someone in your house or someone in your life? Reset it. Be like, hey, remember when we talked about this? Can you remember to do that? Who's done that lately? Who reset a boundary lately? Not a new one, an old one. That's rough. Because then you start to get into, oh, I'm annoying people. Oh, I might upset them because they thought it was just a phase. Remember what you were trying to accomplish here, ladies. A brand new life. That takes practice and reminders. It will not happen on the first try, the second try, the 10th try, the 50th try, but you better not give up before it works. And you better not be sitting there hoping it will work. You need to be taking everything in your power, every tool you have at your, lost my word. You know what I mean? Every tool, disposal, there it is. Every tool at your disposal. You gotta take it. And you have to use it. It is there for you. It is there for you. Do not make this harder than it needs to be, right? This is hard to do in the beginning, but it will save you so much time in the future. When you're living in that dream life you wish you had, you can be living there sooner. You have to actively be going through it. You cannot passively hope your husband starts to want to be healthy. You cannot passively hope your children, leave you alone during your workouts, right? You can't passively expect these things to happen. You need to actively say what's on your mind and ask for it. Now it's up to you to decide to what degree can you do those things and how do you roll them out, right? A little thing here, a big discussion here, up to you. But you can't avoid these. And that's just what I want to get across for you today, ladies, is if you do feel that in the middle area, not doing bad at all, lots of wins, non-scale victory or scale victory, but you could be doing better, something needs to be adjusted. Your life is keeping you comfortable. Focus on your household, reset some boundaries, ask yourself, what have I been avoiding dealing with? What have I been putting a Band-Aid on when it really needs surgery, right? There's only so many times you can slap a Band-Aid on something, right? And you all know what I'm talking about. All slapping a Band-Aid on. There's only so many times you can do that until, you have to just go get the surgery. And it's easier to get it over with than it is to let it draw out. And so changing your environment, that is a must. We can't be naive, ladies, and think we can stay in this comfortable little bubble we've built and become a different woman, become a stronger woman, become a more confident woman. This current environment was built to get you to where you were, and you weren't happy there, and you're not 100% happy now. So that's going to need to change as you change. So that's my task for everybody this week. I want you to analyze your environment. Either what have you been avoiding doing? What do you know needs to be done? Or hey, let me think about, what Maddie said. What's in my life that's not helping me, right? It does not necessarily need to be actively hurting you, but it's definitely not helping. So analyze those things and then think of a plan of attack. Something small, right? If it's, your whole family is not cohesive and all on different pages and the kids are lazy and the husband's not supportive, or, maybe we do weekly family meetings to start and we just share our feelings. We don't start barking rules at somebody or barking boundaries at somebody. Maybe we have a family meeting, right? If you've got a relative that's really been bugging you, or you're temporary, you're on vacation or temporarily living with somebody, weekly family meetings are awesome, right? You don't necessarily have to say, do this for me. Be like, tell me how you feel, and then I'll tell you how we feel, and then maybe we can find a compromise, right? Or something in your environment, right? Do you need to redo your kitchen, right? Is your kitchen due for a renovation that you've been planning for years, right? Do you need to go grab new fancy organization Tupperware for your cupboard so it's more attractive? There's lots of steps you can do. Think of, what would the future me look like? What would the future me's daily routine look like? And that's where you start. And that's where you start. And just a quick little side note for anybody with kids. And I told this to another Fit Queen a couple days ago. If the children are one of the biggest setbacks, whether because they're not cooperative, whether it's because they keep snacks in the house and you can't get rid of those, what I want you to know is this, ladies. Children will, whatever environment the kids grow up in is what they will produce when they are older and by themselves, right? So if you have junk food readily available, if you've got quick and easy snacks all the time, they're going to be in the exact same position as you are right now. You are setting them up to be a you 20, 30 years from now, because you're not trying to get them involved too. You're trying to say, I don't want them to suffer because I'm trying to be healthy, right? Just some food for thoughts for those of you dealing with that. Short-term pain, long-term gain. Don't fight the discomfort. Embrace the discomfort, the boundaries, the uncomfortable conversations, the change. If you're trying to change the acceleration of your results, you gotta change your garden. Tend to your garden. Tend to your garden, ladies. Actively check what's going on every day. Just a little bit. Just a pulse check. This does not require a huge amount of energy, time, or effort. It does not. It sounds like it does because we're tackling a big task, but day to day, it does not take a lot of effort. So you need to take this very serious, ladies. I am dead serious when I say your environment will be your downfall. I don't care how self-evolved, self-analytical, and how much growth you've done up here. It doesn't matter. We are not strong enough to push past an optimized environment for bad habits or people not respecting you and your wishes. So I want you to do an environment audit, ladies. I want you to think about, what have I been avoiding? What needs to change? Honestly. And tackle that. And think, how can I tend to my garden more daily? What would that look like? And I would love to hear what you come up with. I would love to hear, does that involve uncomfortable conversations? Do you even know how to set boundaries, reset boundaries? Is your life just keeping you comfortable? It's not necessarily ruining you, but it's definitely making you comfortable. How do you tackle that? I would love to hear how you interpret this and kind of what this next step is for you. So take a second, and I want you to write in the comments what you think needs to change in your environment. What's one thing that your environment, your household, what needs to change? Whether you want to change it or not, whether you think it's not that big of a deal or not, whether you think you can get away with not dealing with it or not. What are those things? Seriously, embrace it. Yes, snacks with my partner. Well done. Well done. You are right. That's a big one. If that's the bottleneck, right? Think about the future you. Does future you do that? Probably not, because future you doesn't want to be, with somebody that's not super, super healthy, or at least trying, or at least doesn't, buys their own snacks, right? Think about what that means for you. Yes, snacks, baggy clothes, dishwasher. This is it. Organize. This is it, ladies. It's little things. If you want your body to be a well-oiled machine, a healthy, fit machine, your environment needs to match that. You're growing your flower in this garden. Your house is the garden, the people in it are the soil, and you are the plant and the flower. Are you not blossoming? Are you taking too long to bloom? Something's off. Adjust your growing conditions. Don't take that for granted. Do not underestimate the power of adjusting your environment. It is untapped. Untapped. And do it often, do it frequently, and do it to the degree that you can handle. And just keep doing it. So my very, very last thought, ladies, when you are stuck, what are you not doing in your environment? What are you avoiding? Or what are you holding on to? That's your thought, and that should be your takeaway.